1956, Thursday morning. Harriet is standing at the dresser, deciding. She has 40-odd pins in the box in front of her, birds, flowers, a little bow, one shaped like a leaf, and she will wear exactly one of them today. The choosing takes about 4 seconds. She has done it every morning for years. 2 of the pins in that box were worth more than the car parked outside. She never knew. Neither did anyone else in the house or in the town or at the church sale 40 years later. Number 3 has sold at auction for $3,400. Number 2 was made by a man who left Cartier to design it, and there is a small crown stamped on the back. We start at 11. Number 11, Sarah Coventry, Monet, Napier. We begin with the ones almost every jewelry box has, because they teach the rule that governs everything else. Sarah Coventry was sold at home parties. A neighbor hosted, a representative laid the pieces out on the dining table, and women bought from a catalog over coffee. Monet and Napier sat in every department store in America. All 3 are signed. All 3 are properly made, and most of them are worth between $5 and $30. This is the first thing to understand, and it saves a lot of false hope. A signature is not value. Scarcity is value. These companies were successful, which means they made a great deal of everything. Which means there is a great deal of it still around. Do not throw them out, they are worth something, and a full lot sells. Just do not build an afternoon around them. Now set those aside, because the next 10 are the reason you are here, and 2 of them are things you would look straight past. Number 10, Weiss. Now the opposite lesson. Weiss made rhinestone pieces of genuinely high-quality, bright, well-cut stones, foiled backs to throw light, settings that held. If you are looking at a Weiss brooch where every single stone is present and everyone still flashes, you are looking at real money. And if 3 stones are cloudy and 1 is missing, you are looking at a fraction of it. Condition is not one factor among several with rhinestone jewelry. It is most of the value. A cloudy stone usually means moisture got behind the foil at some point, a hand wash, a damp drawer, a summer in a hot attic, and that damage cannot be undone. The stone is dead. This is why the pieces that survive clean are worth what they are. Not because they were rare when they were made, but because almost nobody stored them properly for 70 years. Hold it under a lamp and turn it slowly. Every stone should wake up. Number 9, Sherman. Gustave Sherman opened his workshop in Montreal in 1947, and he did one thing. Not necklaces as a sideline, not a costume line to fill out a catalog, rhinestone jewelry, and nothing else made to a standard he refused to move. His company's line was Jewels of Elegance, and he used only Austrian crystal, Swarovski, and whatever new color or new cut Swarovski released. Sherman was among the first to put it into production, which is why Sherman pieces so often survive in the condition number 10 was talking about. The stones were simply better to begin with. The signature is usually on a small plate on the reverse, and it says nothing but Sherman. Ordinary signed pieces run about $30 to $175, but with Sherman, the color is the whole story. The rare shades carry a real premium. Above all, black diamond, a smoky, gray-black crystal, and the unusual custom hues he had made for particular runs. Collectors in Canada hunt these specifically, and they know the color names by heart. So with this one, do not look at the shape. Look at the color, then look for the plate. Here's the part that gets explained wrong. People say brooches went out of fashion. That is not what happened, and the real answer is stranger. The brooch did not disappear. The places to put one disappeared. A brooch needs a surface. It needs a lapel with structure behind it, a collar that holds its shape, a wool coat, a fitted jacket, a hat with a brim, a dress made from cloth, heavy enough to carry a piece of metal without sagging. Every one of those existed in the ordinary wardrobe of 1955. Then clothing went soft. Knits, jersey, t-shirts, unlined jackets, fabrics that a 2-inch pin pulls out of shape and puts a permanent hole through. By the time a woman's daily wardrobe was made mostly of stretch and drape, there was physically nowhere left to pin anything. And then the second thing happened, which was worse. The brooch got assigned an age. It became the accessory of somebody's grandmother, the thing you were teased for wearing, the shorthand in a film for a woman who had stopped paying attention, a whole category of ornament, one that women had used for a century to say something about themselves, was quietly filed under old. So they came off the coats and went into the boxes, and the boxes went to church sales, 40 pins at a time. If there is a box like Harriet's somewhere in your house, subscribe before we go on. From here down, the numbers stop being reasonable. Number 8. Coro and the one word that changes everything. Coro was everywhere. The counters at Woolworths, the 5 and dime, the good department store downtown, all of it Coro. And a plain piece marked Coro is worth a few dollars. A piece marked Coro Craft is a different object entirely. Coro Craft was the company's upper line, better metal, better stones, more ambitious design. Same firm, different world. The mark is the only thing separating them, and it is usually stamped somewhere you have to tilt the piece to read. Then there is the one collectors actually hunt, the duet. It looks like a single brooch. It is not. It is 2 dress clips held in a hinged frame, and it comes apart, so a woman could wear it as one large pin at the neckline, or split it and wear one clip on each side of a collar, or on the corners of a neckline or on a hat. Coro patented the mechanism. A working duet, one where the frame still holds and both clips still open and grip, brings far more than an ordinary Coro pin. A broken one brings very little. Check whether it comes apart. Then check whether it goes back together. Everything on this list came out of the same world, a world where a woman assembled herself every morning out of things she had chosen and kept. If you want that world in full, the forgotten 1950s Feminine Routine Manual is at nostalgiawomen.com. I won't mention it again. Number 7, Bakelite. This one you can test at your kitchen table, and it is the only item on the list where you can be certain in about a minute. Bakelite is early plastic, and the pieces that matter are the figurals, carved fruit, animals, flowers, faces, and the deep saturated colors. Butterscotch, deep red, forest green, cobalt. Carved bangles run $100 to $500 and up. Figural pins and the rare colors go higher. 2 tests that work. Put a dab of Simichrome polish on a cotton swab and rub a discrete spot for about 30 seconds. If the swab comes away yellow or ivory, it is almost certainly Bakelite. Or run the piece under hot water for a moment and smell it. Bakelite gives off a distinct chemical smell. People describe it as formaldehyde, and one test to never do. You will find people online telling you to touch a heated pin to it. Do not. It leaves a permanent scar, and you will have proved what you own by damaging it. Number 6, the one with no name on it at all. This is the piece that makes people sit down. DeLizza and Elster was a New York manufacturing firm, William DeLizza and Harold Elster, and by 1953 they were making enormous quantities of high-end rhinestone jewelry. They made it for other companies to sell under other names, so they did not sign it. For 2 years, from 1967, some pieces carried a paper hang tag reading Juliana. Paper tags come off. Everything else they ever made left the factory unmarked. Collectors call all of it Juliana anyway, and they identify it by how it was built. Navettes, long pointed marquee-shaped rhinestones, used constantly and in quantity. Figure 8 puddling. Turn it over. The little metal cups holding the stones were soldered together in pairs, and the solder pooled into a shape like a figure 8 before it was plated. It is visible to the naked eye. Rivets, they used a distinctive rivet to hold clusters of stones in place. So the most valuable thing in a jewelry box can be the one piece with nothing written on the back. Harriet's daughter would have looked at that blank reverse and read it as proof there was nothing to find. There is something worth sitting with in that. Number 5, Eisenberg. Eisenberg started as a clothing company. The brooches were not the product, they were pinned onto the dresses as decoration to help the dresses sell. Women started buying the dresses for the pins. Some walked in and asked to buy the pin alone, so Eisenberg began making jewelry as a business of its own. The pieces from the 1930s and 1940s are the ones that matter, and many are sterling. The stones were large, deliberately oversized, and very good. An Eisenberg silver clip with rhinestones sold for $140. A fur clip built around a large blue crystal brought $375. And an Eisenberg fur clip shaped as Puss in Boots, a figural, which is always where the money hides, sold for $1,675. The words to look for on the back are Eisenberg Original, sometimes with a script E. That mark is the early work. Turn it over. Here is everything in order. The mark. It is small and it is usually on the back of the pin stem or on a little plate near the hinge. Tilt it toward a light. Stamped marks fill with tarnish and vanish at the wrong angle. And remember number 6. No mark does not mean no value. The clasp. This dates the piece with no guesswork at all. A tube hinge with a long pin that extends past the edge of the brooch. Before 1890. A C-clasp. An open hook the pin simply rests in, with no closing mechanism at all. Roughly 1890 to 1910. A trombone clasp. A little tube you pull out and push back like the slide of a trombone, 1890 to 1940, and usually European, often French. A rollover safety catch, the one you know, with the small rotating jaw and that faint click as it drops over the pin, from the late 1920s and early 1930s onward, and essentially unchanged since. So a safety catch tells you it is not antique. A C-clasp tells you it is. And if there is no click at all, if the pin just rests in an open hook, and you suddenly understand why women lost so many of these, you are holding something made before the First World War. The stones, count for gaps, then tilt it and find the one that has gone milky while its neighbors still flash. That is moisture behind the foil, and it is permanent. The metal. Look for sterling stamped on the reverse. In American costume jewelry, sterling generally points you at the war years. Number 4, Miriam Haskell. You will often find no signature here either, because Haskell did not mark her pieces in the early years. What identifies her is the construction, and it is unlike anything else in the room. Haskell pieces were hand-wired. Every pearl, every bead, every glass flower was individually sewn onto a filigree, backing with fine wire, one at a time by a person. Turn a Haskell brooch over and the back is a dense web of wire and small knots. It looks like embroidery done in metal. Her signature material was the glass Baroque pearl, made in Japan, with an irregular surface and a soft, warm luster that modern faux pearls do not reproduce. Haskell brooches sell across a very wide band, $150 to $2,450. A brass piece with faux pearls, poured glass and gold leaf brought $250 in 2024. The elaborate early pieces sit at the top of that range. The wire is the tell. Machine set stones sit in metal cups. Haskells sit on thread. I went through the rest of that jewelry box in another video. The rings, the strands, the pieces she only took out for church. It's on the channel when you want it. Number 3, Schreiner. Schreiner of New York was a workshop, not a factory. The output was small and the technique was unmistakable. Henry Schreiner had trained as a blacksmith in Germany before he came to New York, and it shows in the engineering. His signature move is the inverted stone. Rhinestones set upside down, point outward. So instead of a flat, glittering surface, the brooch bristles. It catches light the way nothing set conventionally does. The other Schreiner tell is on the back. He used hook and eye settings that let stones be swapped out, so his pieces could be rebuilt in different colorways. It means the reverse of a Schreiner looks unlike the reverse of anything else. He also used Peking glass, a dense, opaque, jade-like glass, as center stones. A Schreiner brooch with a Peking glass center, surrounded by rhinestones and crystals, sold at auction for $3,400. That is the kind of pin that sat in the sandwich bag. Number 2, Trifari, the jelly belly. In 1930, a designer named Alfred Philippe went to work for Trifari. He came from Cartier and from Van Cleef and Arpels, where he had spent his career setting real diamonds into real platinum for people who could afford both. At Trifari, he did exactly the same work with glass and base metal. The settings are fine jewelry settings. The stones are placed the way a diamond would be placed. It is couture technique applied to something a secretary could buy on a Friday. His most famous creations are the jelly bellies, small animals, ducklings, rabbits, spiders, fish, penguins, where the body is a single large piece of clear lucite, rounded and domed like a drop of water, framed in sterling. The numbers: a common Trifari brooch runs $80 to $1,500. The rare jelly bellies and the best Alfred Philippe designs reach $3,000 to $5,500 and higher. A 1940s sterling jelly belly duckling is listed at $2,500. A jelly belly rabbit in sterling vermeil, $2,295. An Alfred Philippe spider sold for $1,850. The mark to look for is crown Trifari, the word with a small crown stamped over the T. That is the crown that was in Harriet's box. When I first read the auction figures on the jelly bellies, I assumed I had misplaced a decimal. I checked 3 sources before I believed it. Everything on this list has been an accident, a workshop that made almost nothing, a firm that never signed its work, a designer who walked out of Cartier, a man in Montreal who refused to use anything but Austrian crystal. None of that is why Harriet had 40 of them. She was not collecting and she was not investing. She had no price guide and no way of knowing that one pin in that box was built by a man who had set diamonds for Van Cleef. She was doing something else entirely, and it is the only thing on this list that every woman watching will recognize immediately. Number 1 is the pin that is worth nothing. Number 1, the one she chose. Think about how much of her outfit she did not decide. Hem length was decided. Gloves for town, hat for church, stockings regardless of the weather, the right shoe for the right hour. Her coat was her good coat because it was the only one. Nearly every element of what she put on in the morning had been settled by somebody who was not her. The brooch was the exception. It was the one piece nobody assigned. She picked it. The bird, the flower, the little bow, the one her sister gave her, pushed the pin through the wool of her coat and felt the small weight of it there all day. On a body governed by rules from the hat down, it was the single square inch that was hers. In 1998, the box went to the church sale. 40 pins in a sandwich bag, $4, and nobody in that room knew what was in it, including the woman who bought it. Her daughter kept one back. The gold tone leaf, no stones, no mark on the reverse, because it was the one she could still picture on her mother's coat. She was right, and not for the reason she thought.